The only good thing the transit of Uranus through Taurus did was bring me my cat Boby and this new apartment. Shenanigans is too polite a word for what Uranus did, tearing up my fourth house of home and family since 2018. Yeah, shit show is more like it. You know, the last thing Taurus ever really wants is change. But with Uranus, you've got no choice. In this video, you're going to hear several stories, of how Uranus is gonna Uranus, whatever house it's transiting in your natal chart. Coffee up, friends. As Stella Wilde, your anti-doom, no BS astrologer, even I was shocked by the extent of the Uranus and Taurus havoc visited upon my fourth house, now that I look back of the last 7 years of the series of unfortunate events. You know, when you have Taurus as your fourth house, you expect your roots to grow deep and stay there. But not when Uranus is tearing a hurricane-sized hole in your heart with his lightning bolts that make the Tower card in tarot look quaint. Because that was the first thing that happened. Hurricane Florence, September 2018, hitting Wilmington, North Carolina with something like over 35 inches of rain. Don't quote me on that, but it was a lot. Fish rising up from the Cape Fear River to take over the entirety of I-40. Never in my 17 years of living there up to that point had I ever evacuated for a hurricane. I just wrote it out. Suddenly, out of nowhere, very Uranus, I was packing up all my favorite tarot decks, notebooks, journals, clothes, and of course the cats, Ariel and Boby, for the long drive to Vermont, where my very gracious, lovely aunt took me in for 2 weeks. Have you ever had to do that, trying to decide in a few hours what you'd be lost without and try to cram it into the back of your car before leaving your home and not knowing if you'd have one to return to? And then the following summer, 2019, it was a basic North Carolina afternoon thunderstorm, basic, which actually can be kind of intense. Lots of thunder, lots of lightning, downpour rain. I was sitting in my living room drinking coffee when I felt that weird drop in barometric air pressure right before you know something bad is going to go down with the weather. And then, you know, you feel that kind of pause in the air, the space between electricity of lightning charging the atmosphere, and then boom, hitting its target. In this case, the target was the metal cap on my chimney, and the lightning traveled down into my house. Okay, and I was like sitting right across from the fireplace when all this happened. Fuses blew. My internet box was toast. My hot water heater electrics were also fried. No hot water for over 10 days after that till I could get it fixed. In the middle of this freaking crazy storm, I actually ran outside to see if my house was on fire. Thankfully, it was not. But then I'm like speed dialing my aunt. Her husband is an ex-firefighter. And I'm like, Skip, could there be a fire in the walls, right? And he's like, if you're not smelling wire burning, you're probably okay. Very reassuring. No, he was very helpful. Thankfully, no fire in the walls, in the electrics. At least Uranus cut me a break and didn't burn my house down. But that December 2019, suddenly, as Uranus often does, another calamity Uranus brought to my door suddenly. My dear brown striped tabby boy, Boby, out of nowhere, was in kidney failure. Out of the blue, typical Uranus lightning bolt. One day, Boby was fine. The next day, I was rushing him to the vet where he was spiking a devastating fever and he was in full kidney shutdown. No rhyme, no reason to it at all. Beloved furry family member cut down in the prime of his life. He was a little over 3 years old. Ariel literally held my hand as I sat at my desk and cried. She knew. I had gotten Budgie when he was only 6 weeks old, and she had been a mama to him. She was a good mama too. Yeah, okay. So we know change is the name of the game with Uranus. He's not content unless he's, spiking the air with thunderbolts and crashing out and wreaking havoc. And, once he's satisfied his itch to blow up your life, he takes a break. The light goes out. He takes a long nap during his retrograde. And then bam, he's back like a bad ex, always showing up asking for a ride, a favor, money they'll never pay back. Wow, you're still trying to clean up the last mess. So the next time Uranus pulled his crap, it came in the form of a letter from a commercial real estate company inviting me and the rest of my neighbors on our street to a community meeting held in the open air at a park, because back then it was COVID, to discuss, or rather inform us, that the barely 1 acre of property behind our street, our houses, was now going to be developed, and a drive-through bank was going to be put on a parcel of land that, like I said, was tiny bit over 1 acre. A drive-through bank with its loudspeakers and beeping noises and car exhaust and all the bullshit, all within 10 feet of where I sat every day in the back of my house, in my office, to do my readings for clients and for this YouTube channel. Even Boby's agitated. There was still a chance that the town zoning board would not approve the rezoning, but, I surmise, allegedly, perhaps just my opinion, that there were some financial kickbacks and greasing of palms with Benjamins, because, the rezoning got approved. And Uranus just laughed in a corner, drinking a beer and smirking, saying, hey, I hit your house with a hurricane, then with a literal lightning bolt, and now a commercial rezoning. How many times, girl, do I have to tell you and show you? Get out now. And 5 months later, I made the very painful decision to sell the house where I had lived for the last 20 years and where I really thought I was going to live the next 20 years. But Uranus had other plans. And then timelines accelerated. My father had been exhibiting signs of dementia, and finally in early 2022, we managed to get him tested after much resistance. And then we had another house to pack up, his, and get him relocated to my sister's. And then there was another shocking turn of events that are just too personal and too painful to detail here. And I found myself also unexpectedly, within a weekend, moving near my father and sister in the autumn of 2022. Then more shocks and upheavals as my father's dementia worsened. He had varying health crises and doctor's appointments that I often took him to. And one day he also literally ran away. He got kind of far from the house. He fell into a ditch. Nobody knew where he was. Luckily, a good Samaritan found him and took him to a fire station, and they managed to figure out where he lived, because sure as heck with his dementia, he couldn't tell them, but they figured it out, thankfully. And then in 2024, my heart broke again. The devastating loss of my cat, Ariel, in April. She had been through all the stories that I have just told you. And like I said, literally holding my hand through some of them. And then the death of my father in October 2024. Thankfully, I was there for both of those crossing overs. It really is a gift, no matter how hard it is. That is a gift. But it felt like Uranus just kept taking and taking and taking away my sense of stability and security. Two more beloveds, Ariel and my dad, gone from my family. And then in the midst of grief of Ariel's loss, I mean, she was barely 9 years old. I think 1 week after she turned 9, from her devastatingly quick, again, Uranus, quick intestinal lymphoma, Mr. Boby, here he is, Mr. Boby stepped up in his calm, loving Taurus way. Because you see, Boby too was going through a tough transit of Uranus in Taurus. His whole identity had been as a solo cat, my sister's. And she had him for 10 years. But when she got married, her partner came with dogs and big dogs. And when those dogs passed, there were 2 of them. They were sweet, but they were big. Then came 3 more big dogs, rambunctious, but very sweet Labradoodle, golden doodle type dogs. And poor chubby Boby was running his chubby Taurus butt all over the house, trying to escape from the very enthusiastic Labradoodles. He spent a lot of time in his window perch, looking outside at the birds, like he was like a Roman stoic, calm, but alone. My sister works very long hours, her partner too. And a lot of the time, Boby was an afterthought. There just wasn't enough time to spend with him. He was loved, of course, but he wasn't worshipped. And that's what cats really want. Look at this face. So in my grief over Ariel in April 2024, I asked if I could borrow Boby. I had never spent the last 30 years without a cat by my side. I didn't want to get a replacement too fast for Ariel because, there is no replacing her, of course. But in my grief, I really didn't trust my judgment that I would choose the right cat. But we know they really do choose us, don't they? They really do. And so Boby and I began our sudden and unexpected life together in April 2024, just a few days before his birthday. As I said, he's a Taurus. Our bond has deepened since then, and he is a true auntie boy. Typical Taurus, he loves his routines. We brush him every morning, followed by a delectable. Some mornings we sit out on the balcony together and I put him in his little cat playpen while I drink coffee and do my journaling. Typical. He always demands to sit in my lap for at least a little bit. Then he has a little window perch and a bed there. He loves to take a nap in the afternoon in his window. At night, he watches TV with me. He sits right beside me and turns his little face toward the screen. And he will do those slow cat blinks to let me know all is okay. And is all okay. I suppose it is now at the end of this hellacious Uranus in transit Taurus of my 4th house. I'm back where I belong in a brand new space with a view of pine trees and Carolina blue sky, which is great. I found out that they're not building a bank behind my old house anymore. I just found this out recently. No, the plans got revised. Now they're building 2 buildings. Can you imagine? My heart broke a little. It really did when I saw all the majestic pine trees they cleared from that one tiny little acre behind my former house. Those pine trees always felt like protectors. It made me feel very secure with them there. And they buffered the noise of the traffic from the main road behind me, and they gave lots of shade in the summer. And now they're gone. My house and living there is now a memory. My beloved cats are a memory, and my father also.
Hi, Bo. Hi, boy. Good boy.
A memory. It's hard to try and tie up this story in some sort of neat little soundbite of wisdom. How? Ultimately, I believe in the power of regeneration. I do. Of planting seeds to begin again, to grow new roots. A 4th house Taurus wouldn't have it any other way, and neither would chubby Taurus boy Boby, who has rooted his big paws right into my heart. And notice, he came when the reading got especially emotional here. Boby was a gift among the wreckage of Uranus going through my 4th house. This apartment is a gift among the wreckage, a place where we both love our morning routines and evening TV time. And out of such moments, we begin our lives again. I know that I am not the only one who experienced a hellacious transit of Uranus through Taurus with its many upheavals, shocks, and chaos. If you feel like it, share your story in the comments. You truly are not alone in whatever you went through. Maybe at some point in the future, there will be some wisdom that comes looking back on all the upheaval of this particular transit. Maybe then there will be a sound bite of wisdom that I can share with you. But right now, what I can say is that I love you guys very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here and being a part of the channel. It's important that we share our stories, I think, of astrology in real life, because sometimes astrology gets very textbook, it's very intellectual, right? But it affects our hearts, it affects our souls, it affects our lives. And it's fascinating to me, even during a chaotic, upsetting transit, to see how we make it through, how we weather the storm, how we survive, and then how we thrive. Thank you so much. Take care. I will see you again soon. Stella Wilde, signing out.